Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna and welcome to our second session on Journey Through Divine Love, Level 1. Thank you very much for your attendance. While I'm covering the Mangala Charan, you can also share any lessons that you learned from yesterday's session. Om Jnanatimi Vandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Mitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Mitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishpanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavinebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshe Sasunyavadi Pastatya Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So let us just spend 2-3 minutes covering any feedback that you have from yesterday's session, specifically what you've learned from yesterday's session. You can also unmute yourself if you like to vocally share. Amavati, Radhika, and Alinkan says, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is a close associate of the Lord, and when he was writing, it was raining everywhere, but not on him. His humility is so nice, saying he's a dried up tree in the desert. He offered obeisance to everyone in the past and offers obeisance again and again to Rupa Goswami, who gave Bhakti Rasamrita Sin as a gift. This inspires us to offer our obeisance Srila Prabhupada for giving us so much. Yes, wonderful. So in summary, we covered why this cause. We also covered the title Madhurya Kanamini, which is a cloud bank of nectar, sweet nectar. We then covered the 2 Mangala Charan prayers. Which Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur presented. And we also then discussed, so that was part 1, and then part 2, we discussed the highest understanding of the absolute truth, which is Krishna as the Akhila Rasamrita Murti, the embodiment of all rasas. And we gave the example from Srimad Bhagavatam, which Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur shares, when Krishna entered the arena of Kamsa, everyone saw him in different ways. Nirvana says, please explain how the secondary rasas are used in Krishna consciousness as they are within the 3 modes of nature. Very good question. So we have to understand that the spiritual world and the material world are 2 different dimensions, and the material world is diametrically opposite. It's a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Implication, whatever we perceive here actually exists in the spiritual world, but in its pure form. So relationships and even the secondary rasas exist here, and the only reason they exist here is because they exist there. But the rasas that exist here are perverted reflections tinged with the three modes of material nature. And therefore, they do not give perfect happiness. In fact, they deliver suffering. Whereas in the spiritual world, there all the rasas, all the relationships are on the platform of Suddha Sattva. So, for example, anger, fear.
Let's go. Let's
So
go.
they all are free from the tinge of the modes of material nature. So anger may be there, but there it's to facilitate the pastimes of Krishna. So therefore, completely pure. And in the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness, they are applicable. In our practice of sadhana bhakti, it's mixed with three modes. So we need to become purified from the three modes of material nature and its influence. So today we're going to discuss how does one receive the seed of devotion. So even before we start practicing, even before the stages of our journey through love, the 9 different stages that are there, how do we actually get that seed of devotion that allows us to get onto this path or the different stages to then progress? So this is what we're going to discuss. This is specifically part 3, where we're discussing the Lord and Suddha Bhakti are self-manifest and completely independent. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur starts by sharing the point and describing the aspect that Krishna appears in this world out of his free, sweet, independent will. He says, he writes, how could anyone fail to recognize Krishna, the son of the king of Vraja, who has an unlimited body endowed with Suddha Sattva names, forms, qualities, and pastimes? This blissful Lord descends to human perception of the ear, eye, mind, and intellect, not by any material cause, but simply by his own independent will. Just as by his own will, he appeared in the material world as Rama in the Raghu dynasty and Krishna in the Yadu dynasty. So Krishna appears out of his sweet will, and when he appears, everyone is able to see him. Just like all the Kauravas, all the Pandavas, all the demons, everybody could see Krishna. Yes, they didn't recognize Krishna, but Krishna allowed them to see him, to interact. So this is Krishna's mercy, and he's descended to allow everyone to see him by his own sweet will. Similarly, Bhakti appears by her own independent will as well. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, similarly, just as the Lord is not dependent on any material cause for his appearance, so his non-different energy, Bhakti, in keeping with its self-manifesting nature, is not dependent on any material cause. That Bhakti manifests in an individual without any reason for doing so is the intent of the following Bhagavatam text, Savaya Pumsa Paradharma. Similarly, the word Yadruchaya appears repeatedly in the Bhagavatam and must be understood to mean by its own independent sweet. So Bhakti also has no material cause. It's an independent Shakti and appears out of her sweet will. So Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur quotes many verses, focusing, and we're not going to quote all the verses that he shares. That will be in level 2. Here we're just going to give at least one verse to establish the point. So this was one of the first verses that is describing bhakti to be ahitiki, not dependent on anything. Savai pumso paro dharmo yato bhaktir adokshaja ahitiki apratiyata yatma suprasiditi. The supreme occupation for all human beings, sadhana bhakti, is that by which prema bhakti to the Lord arises, which is not caused by anything other than him itself, cannot be obstructed, in which satisfy the mind completely. So ahituki means appears without any cause. And then this word yadrucha and a combination of that is also used throughout different scriptures, which also implies by its own independent will, or sometimes it's ascribed by luck or by chance. That's the interpretation. This is a verse from Uddhav Gita. Krishna is instructing Uddhava, Yadruchaya mat katado jata shraddhas tuya pumams na nirvino nati shakto bhakti yogo syasiddhaya siddhida. If by unexpected association with devotees one develops faith in my glories, that person neither very disgusted with nor very much attached to material life is qualified for bhakti and will achieve perfection. So bhakti is completely independent, and the important aspect of bhakti's descent is that bhakti is ahituki. And ahituki means causeless, means no cause. Hetu means cause, and ahituki means no cause. And self-causative means there is no other cause for bhakti other than bhakti itself. Bhakti brings about bhakti. So this is the understanding of ahituki. Whenever words referring to in verses referring to bhakti, when it has words ahituki, it means causeless or on its bhakti on our own accord manifest. Then the word yadruchaya has two meanings in different contexts. It can mean by luck or chance, and it can also mean by independent will. So Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur now goes through these different aspects to establish how is bhakti actually caused. And he looks at these 5 causes, 2 under luck and chance. First one is luck generates piety. So can bhakti manifest out of luck, which is generated by piety? And can it be generated by causeless luck? That means luck that has no cause. And then the independent will. There's 3 categories under this section. One is whose independent will? Is it Krishna's independent will? Is it the devotee's independent will who's giving or spreading Krishna consciousness? Or is it the receiver's, the jiva who's receiving that mercy, his independent will? So he's going to discuss all these aspects and then come to a conclusion. And the reason why he's looking at these different aspects is that some people receive bhakti and some don't. It's not like everyone becomes a devotee. So there has to be some cause behind that that's making some accept and some not. So we're going to go through these 5 different aspects. So the first option is one receives bhakti by luck, which is generated by piety. So when he's now evaluating this aspect, we're trying to understand why some get and some don't get. Why some get bhakti? If this is the case, if that means if we're looking at luck generated by piety as the basis, then we'll say, okay, someone got bhakti because the person is lucky. And why is this person lucky? Because this person is pious. Hence, piety is the cause of bhakti. If we look at a person that did not get bhakti, then we conclude that this is because the person is not lucky. And why is this person not lucky? Because this person is impious or sinful, and therefore he didn't get bhakti. So this implies that piety is causing bhakti in those who are pious and not in those who are impious. But this is contrary to our understanding and perception. Why? We find that some pious people don't take to bhakti. There are many people who are very, very pious, and they don't take to bhakti. So if piety was causing bhakti, then everyone who's pious should be a devotee. But not everyone who's pious is a devotee. So that's a contradiction. This means piety is definitely not causing that bhakti. Then people, all kinds of, that have bad habits, they also take to bhakti. So even somebody is not pious, they also become devotees. So then that means piety, even somebody is sinful and impious, they can become devotees. So all kinds of people, whether they're pious or impious, become devotees, and therefore Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur establishes that actually bhakti is not caused by piety. Piety is not the cause of bhakti. So that luck that comes from piety is definitely not an option. In terms of evaluating the ahituki nature, causeless nature, piety is the cause of bhakti. Hence, this is not causeless because there's something that's causing bhakti. And in terms of the self-causative, it is not self-causing, causative, as piety is not equal to bhakti. So bhakti should be giving bhakti and not piety giving bhakti. Therefore, it fails the criteria of ahituki. Bhakti is ahituki, which means there is no cause, and it is self-causative, means only bhakti can give bhakti. So therefore, piety definitely is not an option. So the conclusion, piety cannot be the cause of bhakti, and bhakti is not dependent on piety or impiety. Somebody can be a devotee, immaterial, or whether they're pious or impious. And he shares many, many verses to validate this as well. So here's one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. I offer respects to the Lord of inconceivable power, the Kiratas, Hunas, Andaras, Pulindas, Pulkashas, Abiras, Sumbas, Yavanas, Kashas, and others of low birth, and those sinful by action, by taking shelter of the devotee who take shelter of the powerful Lord, become purified of their prarabdha karma. So anyone is qualified to get bhakti, immaterial of whether they're pious or impious, sinful or not. Then option 2. So the option 2 is one receives bhakti by luck that is causeless. So we don't know what caused the luck, but they get bhakti because of luck. So in evaluating this, he says, okay, why someone gets bhakti? So they got bhakti because this person is lucky. Why is this person lucky? Well, luck has no cause. It's causeless luck. Hence, causeless luck is the cause of bhakti. Then if you look at somebody that did not become a devotee, why did this person not become a devotee? Why did not get bhakti? Why is this person not lucky? Because he's not lucky. And why is he not lucky? A person is not lucky to get it. So when he's looking at this, he's saying that however scripture glorifies, endeavors to spread bhakti. So he's looking at this and say, well, firstly, if there is no cause for the luck, then you can't establish a basis. It doesn't have a foundation. You can't just say he's lucky because he's lucky. There's no cause. There has to be some understanding, some basis. So he also makes the point that if it's only based on luck, then why does scripture encourage, and especially Krishna, encourage devotees to go out and share Krishna consciousness if it's just based on luck? That means whoever is lucky, they get it. Well, if that's the case, then Krishna would not emphasize people to share Krishna consciousness. So this explains, firstly, the causeless nature of bhakti. Krishna says one who spreads the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita or shares knowledge of Krishna consciousness is very dear to him. And if someone gets bhakti by causeless luck, then why Krishna glorifies the devotee? So this is the counter argument to say that actually, therefore, just to say that it's luck is definitely not the proper foundation or basis. And then quotes the famous verse from Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, where Krishna says, one who teaches this supreme secret to my devotees attains the highest bhakti and finally attains me without doubt. So here the Lord is encouraging those who are sharing and glorifying those who share Krishna consciousness. So bhakti is not caused by causeless luck, or it's not even caused by luck that is caused by piety. Then option 3 is by Krishna's independent will. So that seems like a more valid option. And he starts to discuss, well, let's see if we get bhakti by Krishna's independent will, because Krishna is free. So if we consider Krishna's qualities, what do we know about Krishna and his qualities? We know that Krishna is omnipotent, he's all-powerful, and he's so powerful that he has what we call an Ichcha Shakti. Whatever he desires immediately happens. He's omnipresent, he's everywhere, he's omniscient, he's all-knowing, and he's omnibenevolent, all good, merciful, kind, and loving. So, if we consider Krishna's qualities, and then we say that it is Krishna's independent will that is causing bhakti, then he goes into and evaluates. Okay? We still notice that there are some that become devotees and some that don't become devotees. So why someone gets bhakti is Krishna's will. Krishna desires that this person should not practice Krishna consciousness, and Krishna desires that this person should practice Krishna consciousness. So because it's Krishna's desire that you become a devotee, you become a devotee. If Krishna says, no, you don't become a devotee, you don't become a devotee. And because Krishna's omnipower is omnipotent, just by him desiring, you either become devotee or you don't become devotee. Now he looks at this situation, he says, well, if this is the case, then it seems that Krishna is unfair. What basis is Krishna using to say that this person becomes a devotee and this person doesn't become devotee? Because Krishna makes it very clear that he is equal to everyone. So if it's equal to everyone, he can't play favoritism to say, okay, I'll make you a devotee and I won't make you a devotee. So this seems to be whimsical and partial and unfair. And therefore, he concludes that it cannot be Krishna's will. It cannot be Krishna's independent will, because then Krishna is actually being partial if he's just giving to some and not all. And Krishna made it very clear in Bhagavad Gita that he's equal to all. So he quotes 9:22. I am equal to all living entities. I do not hate anyone, nor do I favor anyone. But those who worship me with devotion are in me, and I am in them. So with the masses, Krishna is equal. Therefore, it cannot be his independent will of somebody becoming a devotee and somebody not becoming a devotee. There has to be some other cause. So then, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, okay, let's look at the other aspect of independent will, which is the devotee's independent will. Can this be an option? So now he looks at this aspect of a devotee becoming the cause. And remember, we always evaluating on the basis that there are some that don't and some that do become devotees as the basis to see what is the most logical foundation of someone getting bhakti. So why someone gets bhakti? Well, it's the devotee's will. So the devotee desires that this person should not practice Krishna consciousness, and therefore he doesn't become a devotee. And the devotee wills and desires that this person should become Krishna conscious, and then the person becomes Krishna conscious. So now he considers this and he says, okay, if the devotee is making a decision to give bhakti or not, then this makes the devotee partial, unfair, whimsical, and also play favorites. And then he says, well, for the devotee, that's okay. Why? Because the devotee is not like Krishna. Krishna is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, omnibenevolent, but a devotee is not. A devotee has limited resources. He has limited time. He has limited energy. He has limited skills and resources. So, and he's not omniscient. He's not omnipresent. So the devotee seems that he can decide who to give Krishna consciousness to and who not to. So his conclusion is that it is the devotee's independent will that likely fits the conclusion or the understanding of bhakti. And he's going to now go further and say, okay, this seems to be more applicable, because yes, the devotee can decide who to give Krishna consciousness to. And then he says, okay, let's look at whether it fits the criteria of ahoituki and self-causative. That means, is bhakti causeless, and is bhakti caused by bhakti if we take the fact that the devotee is giving or making devotees. The devotee is giving bhakti. So he considers devotees' independent will is the cause. So it seems like bhakti is not causeless because there's the devotee's will, and he's going to break that down further. Is independent will of the devotee same as bhakti? No, hence it's not self-causative. So it seems like on the face value, it doesn't fit into the criteria of bhakti. And now he goes into further detail and he says, okay, why did the devotee wish to share devotion with others? To please Krishna due to his compassionate nature. He's sharing his blissful experience. Is compassion the same as bhakti? No. All right. Then how did the devotee become compassionate? Well, due to the practice of bhakti, the heart becomes soft, made of goodness, rising above the lower modes. So that means bhakti is in the heart of the devotee. Otherwise, his heart would not soften and he wouldn't become compassionate. So because bhakti is in the heart of the devotee, then that leads to him being compassionate. It leads to desire to share bhakti and leads to bhakti in the other person. If bhakti is in the heart of the devotee, then that means it leads to bhakti in the heart of the jiva that's receiving that bhakti. And this fulfills the criteria that bhakti is ahoituki and self-causative. Because now it's actually the bhakti that is in the heart of the devotee that is being shared that's causing bhakti in the other person's heart. So bhakti is caused by bhakti. And it has no other material cause, therefore it's ohituki. It is ultimately the devotion that is there in the heart, which then touches another person, and that person becomes a devotee. So this is how he concludes that actually it is the devotee that is able to make others practice the process of bhakti. Therefore, the statement that one receives bhakti by the devotee's independent will is not incongruent to ahituki and yadruchaya nature of bhakti. And then he shares a verse, few verses, so we're just quoting one, that shows how by one becoming a devotee, he develops all good qualities. The gopis, they sing, the nectar of your words and the description of your activities are the life and soul of those suffering in this material world. These narrations, transmitted by learned sages, eradicate one's sinful reactions and bestows good fortune upon whoever hears them. These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Certainly those who spread the message of Godhead are most munificent. Then he goes on further trying to understand, okay, so we accept that the devotee is the one that's causing bhakti in others. Then he asks the question, is the devotee acting independent of the will of Krishna? Because we already covered that bhakti cannot be received by the will of Krishna. So then he asks the question, okay, if it's received by the devotees, then is the devotee acting independently of the will of Krishna? Well, is the devotee acting independently of the will of Krishna? If we say yes, then what type of devotee is this? Because we know that somebody who's a devotee, he's totally dependent on the will of Krishna. He's surrendered to Krishna and he's given himself completely to the will of Krishna. So how can he be a devotee then? So that becomes a contradiction. And if we say, well, the devotee is not the devotee is acting independently of Krishna's will. No, he's not acting independently. If he's not acting independently, then that means that Krishna's will is exactly as the devotee's will, and that leads us back to our initial argument that then why is Krishna partial? And that contradicts the argument again. So, in order to reconcile this, he makes the point that one should not consider that the devotee is dependent on the will of the Lord and therefore cannot initiate the bestowal of mercy. For the Lord accepts subservience to his devotee, Swa Bhakta Vashyata, and gives preeminence to the devotee's position by giving him the power to bestow the Lord's own mercy, Swa Kripa Shakti. So Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is making the point that Krishna is completely independent, Swarat. But for distributing his mercy, especially through the process of bhakti, he has given that appointment, that empowerment to the devotee. And he is now requesting the devotee, you decide who can become a devotee and who shouldn't become a devotee. I'm going to be completely independent and detached from how you distribute mercy. I'm giving you the power. So therefore we say that Krishna's mercy follows the devotee's mercy, because Krishna has allowed this to happen. The Lord voluntarily gives the distribution rights to the devotees. Hence, devotee independently distributes Krishna's mercy, and Krishna does not interfere who to give or not to give. Though as Paramatma, he simply oversees the affairs of the jiva's external senses, which are the reward of his past activities, the Lord personally shows special mercy to his devotees by giving them his own independent power to bestow mercy to others. So this is the underlining science, underlining mystery of how people become devotees or not. Now the question can be asked, well, which devotee is given the empowerment to distribute bhakti? Is it the Uttamadhikari, who sees everyone as a pure devotee besides himself? If it's a Uttamadhikari, he's not going to give bhakti because he's thinking, I'm unqualified to give bhakti. In fact, I don't have bhakti. And all these devotees, they're all pure devotees. So he only sees pure devotees. So he cannot distribute bhakti. Is he the Kanishta Adhikari who is still struggling with his own senses? He doesn't have devotion. He doesn't have bhakti to share. He doesn't know scripture. He can't convince people. So it's definitely not the Kanishta. It is the Madhyam Adhikari that is able to give bhakti. And when we talk about the Madhyam Adhikari, we know that Srila Prabhupada is not a Madhyam Adhikari, but he preached. So the Uttam Adhikari, like Srila Prabhupada, can take the role of a Madhyam Adhikari and distribute Krishna consciousness most effectively. When the Uttam Adhikari takes the role of a Madhyam, he can distribute most effectively. And why the Madhyam Adhikari? Because scripture says that the Madhyam Adhikari, okay, let's first discuss the Kanishta. Scripture says Kanishta, he just considers the deity and himself, that's all. Doesn't consider anything else. The Madhyam Adhikari, he considers 4 categories of people. Those who are senior to him, who he serves, those who are equal to him, who he befriends, those who are junior to him, or who are innocent, he gives mercy, and those who are inimical or envious, he avoids. So because of this nature of the Madhyam Adhikari, he is able to distinguish who to serve and get more mercy, who to befriend and share Krishna consciousness with, and specifically who's innocent and who I can share and give mercy and help to become devotees. And then obviously those who are inimical, I can avoid. So therefore, The empowerment that the Lord gives is specifically to the Madhyam Adhikari devotee to decide how he wants to spread Krishna consciousness or not. So the devotee is distributing Krishna's mercy. We've established that. Now the question we want to ask is why some people get it and some people don't. Prabhupada went to the West and he met so many people, but not everyone he met became a devotee. And he's a Mahabhagavat who's coming down in the role of a Madhyam Adhikari to give mercy. So he's got devotion, no doubt. But how come there were those that became devotees and didn't? Then we also want to look at, is the devotee distributing bhakti? If yes, then what does it mean to distribute bhakti? If not, then what is he distributing so that others can become devotees? So in the chat, please share with us if you have come in contact with the process of Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness. Share with us your initial contact. How did you get in touch with the process of Krishna consciousness? Was it through prasadam, festival, knowledge, you're meeting devotees, inner joy? What triggered your Krishna consciousness that you started practicing, started chanting? Please type in the chat. Let's see what triggered your Krishna consciousness. So Nirvana says Bhagavad Gita. You got Bhagavad Gita and that triggered your Krishna consciousness. So that's knowledge. Radhika says devotees, mercy, family members. So devotees, good. Hemavati says Srila Prabhupada's book, Science of Self-Realization. For Nalini Kanta, yes. Any others? Deep says family. Daksha says Rath Yatra. Yes, festivals. Shamananda says Srila Prabhupada's books. Amisha says it was prasadam at the university. Good, so prasadam. Bhaktin Colleen says SABC TV, which led me to Cape Town Temple. And there you met His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami. Yes, so the exposure through television. Yogita says Bhagavad Gita. Mukund says devotees prasad and festival. Hemavati says my cousin devotee gave us Srila Prabhupada's books. Sham Govinda says devotee association. Karuna says devotee association, stories of Krishna. Good. Now you notice, Hemanti says devotees, family and temple. You notice that it's the experience that got us started on the path of devotional service. Either the prasadam, the festival, the knowledge, the experience that we got, the devotee care, the devotees sharing. So it was an experience that got us triggered into practicing. So if we're looking at this experience, the devotees give favorable experiences which can potentially attract persons towards Krishna consciousness. Nadira says, visit a temple when it was first built. Beautiful temple. It gives a beautiful experience. As soon as you come into the temple, that experience is so peaceful. So the devotees built the temple and gave an experience to a soul coming into that environment. And what happens? The person receiving does not know its connection with Krishna, but genuinely appreciates what he or she received. You come into the temple and you say, wow, this feels nice. How wonderful. Then, since the experience he or she received is connected to Krishna, and comes through Krishna's devotees, this appreciation leads to accumulation of what we call agyata sukriti, unknown or unintentional devotional credits. And we have what we call a devotional spiritual bank. And as soon as we experience different facets of Krishna consciousness, and we say, wonderful, thank you, it was so wonderful, I like that, oh, I need that, I need to go get more. This means I'm adding to my spiritual bank account. I'm increasing my agyata sukriti. So what the devotee is really sharing is his experience and joy, devotion, through different activities which are exposed to souls who then experience that, and they appreciate that, they develop a desire for that, and in this way, that goes into their spiritual bank account. Bafana says, mine was very simple challenge by confident devotee that Christians are fearful. And he gave me literature to read. And I started like that, self-reading and love and enthusiasm for Prabhupada. And it's still to date. I'm just on doing bhakti closely. Books fire me up. Yes. Deep says, but like mentioned, does this not also come from previous life where Krishna brings you in this life knowing you had some sort of knowledge in your previous life to enhance this knowledge? So Deeps, yes. This process is not overnight. This process is over lifetimes. So you need to, like your piggy bank. If I put one coin in the piggy bank, is that piggy bank filled? No. I need to keep putting. So the agyata sukriti needs to build over lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. And when it accrues to a certain level, now your desire becomes strong to take to spiritual life. Then you still engage in agyata sukriti building. Because now your desire also is going to allow you to go to the temple, to read the books, to offer candles to Lord Damodar. So your sukriti is building even more. When it builds even to another level, now you decide, I need to really become serious and start chanting Hare Krishna seriously. And then you start chanting Hare Krishna, and now it keeps building even more. Your spiritual bank account even builds even further. And when it goes even further, now you decide, I need to really surrender now and become serious and follow the vows. And then you surrender and become initiated and follow the vows. And now your sukriti, devotional credits even build more. See, so this way, it is happening over lifetimes. It's not just one lifetime or one connection or one contact. Prabhupada, one senior devotee, raised his hand and asked a question. Srila Prabhupada, when I look back at my life, I don't see any pious activity. I don't see any penances. I don't see anything except I had a very sinful life. How did I achieve devotional service? Srila Prabhupada said, I have made your good fortune for you. So Prabhupada's power, Prabhupada's devotion, Prabhupada's mercy is so powerful that it can fill your bank account, your devotional spiritual bank account rapidly. He can cut the lifetimes into a moment and fill your bank account. And all of a sudden, you just feel like, I really need to surrender. I need to practice devotional service. That can happen. Here's another example from Srimad Bhagavatam. Narad Muni. Narad Muni became maidservant's son. But because his mother was very pious, she would receive the Bhakti Vedantas, the saintly persons. And she taught Narad Muni, how to respect the sadhus, how to serve them. So he dutifully began to serve under the guidance of his mother, bringing them prasad, washing their hands and feet. And then he would request, please give me some of your remnants. And then Narad Muni, as a maidservant son in his previous life, he would eat that remnants. He would also hear the Krishna Katha, sit with them and hear the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And this way his devotional credits were increasing. His devotional credits were increasing so effectively because why? These were Mahabhagavats, these were Bhaktivedantas, they were pure devotees. And in their association, eating their remnants, hearing them, his bank balance really increased. And one day, while his mother was going and to the cow shed, the shed caught on fire and his mother died. In fact, his mother was bitten by a snake. And he died. When she died, he had no one to look after him. But because he was educated, as well as by serving them, he developed renunciation. Immediately he left his house, his abode, his shelter, and went to the forest, started meditating according to the instructions of the sages. And he had darshan of the Lord. Krishna came to him and he personally had darshan. And this is how he became Narad Muni. So a perfect example of how a Gyata Sukriti is received and built up. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this verse is also there. And tomorrow we'll expand on this verse as well, but just briefly, Brahmanda Brahmite Kon Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. This is a Brahmanda universe. So according to the karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to upper planetary systems, and some are going down into lower planetary systems. Out of millions of wandering living entities, one is very fortunate, who is very fortunate, gets an opportunity to associate with the bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. So he receives the Bhakti Lata Beach. And what is this Bhakti Lata Beach? It is the seed of desire to serve Krishna. So all of you that had contact, connection via a devotee, either devotee directly, or devotee distributing the book, or devotee distributing prasad, or devotee building a temple, it had to be a devotee behind that. And that connection sparked a desire to serve Krishna. And then it was fanned. So this is how the Bhakti Lata is received. It's actually the seed of desire to serve Krishna, or the faith, the trust that yes, if I do this, this will be good for me. The appreciation in the experience, in the devotees, in the scripture, in the process, or in the law to serve Krishna. That the experience was so nice from the devotees. If I'm with them, I know I'll be happy. So that faith, that appreciation starts to get fanned, and in this way, one starts his journey on spiritual life, the journey of divine love. And finally, so we've concluded option 4 is the best option. But Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur just wants to seal the discussion. So the last option that we had was option 5, that bhakti can be received by the will of the person who's receiving it. What about the will of the receiving jiva? Does that play a role in the person getting bhakti or not? So he goes into discussing at the level of Agyata Sukriti prior to transformation into faith. That means this person is a total materialistic person. So he has no value system. And it seems like there's an aspect of acceptance or rejection. So question that I have is, if you had to look at this plate of sweets, which one would you choose? And the question is, would everyone in this Zoom session choose the same sweet? Would everyone in this session choose the same sweet? Definitely not. And the question is, why? So we're discussing, is it the will of the devotee that he gets bhakti or not? So just to understand willpower, let's look at this first picture. You can say yes, it is willpower or not. Do you have willpower to watch TV all day? Does that make sense? Yes or no? Do you have the willpower to watch TV all day? Does that make sense? Or does this make sense? Do you have the willpower to exercise regularly? So this definitely doesn't make sense. This makes more sense. Do you have the willpower to study all day? Or do you have the willpower to play all day? So when we're looking at willpower in relation to bhakti, we need to understand what willpower is. The ability to delay gratification, resisting short-term temptations in order to meet long-term goals. That's the application of willpower. Doing something against your natural tendency. That's where willpower comes in. And then he looks at, okay, so how do we define willpower or free will from a scriptural perspective? What are our natural tendencies? Likes and dislikes. So we all have likes and dislikes. When we do something, because we like it, we like to do it, this is not willpower, free will. Why? Because our likes and dislikes are controlled by the three modes. So it's a particular combination of the modes which push us to act in that way. So he goes into discussing that actually, when somebody is accepting or not, it's not exercising of his free will. It's actually his conditioning, which are by the three modes of material nature, that he's developed likes and dislikes, that he is able to reject or accept. Okay, it's not really free will because nobody has free will. Everyone is under the influence of the three modes, and therefore everybody has likes and dislikes influenced by the three modes. And that's why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna covers so many verses, over 100 verses, all discussing and related to the three modes. So free will means subordinating our likes and dislikes, desires, and choosing to act in the direction of scripture, which is the main value system, which states what is right, favorable, anukulyasya sankalpa, and what is wrong, unfavorable, pratikulyasya varjanam. So that's real free will, not just selecting according to our desires. So then he concludes that what about the will of the receiving jiva? Does it play a role? Well, firstly, the free will does not exist as all. So there's no free will. His choices are based on the influence of the modes. So if a devotee comes, let's say with khichdi, and he's distributing khichdi to some innocent person, that person may not like khichdi. He may not even know what khichdi, and he doesn't like khichdi. He likes his pup and flesh. So khichdi may not be something that he would accept. So he'll say, no, I don't want. It's the conditioning that allowed him to reject that mercy. So whatever the devotee is presenting as an opportunity, if it is appealing to the predominating modes of the receiving jiva, then he accepts. If not, very appealing, then he rejects. And we see this. That is why we find that it's not one activity that you all came to Krishna consciousness via. It's a wide variety of activities, some through prasadam, even different types of prasadam, some through festivals, different types of festivals. So different experiences, different flavors, all trying to bring different souls that have different conditioning to Krishna consciousness. In accepting or rejecting, the modes are under control. Free will has not manifested yet. Hence, he is not exercising the free will. And because he's not exercising free will, then this option is not a valid option for receiving bhakti. So in conclusion, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur started to describe how the Lord is independent, and therefore he comes out of his sweet independent will. And because the Lord is independent, all his Shaktis are also independent. And bhakti, the bhakti Shakti, the devotional potency is also independent. In scripture, two words are used to identify the characteristic of bhakti. One is ahoitiki, means there is no material cause, there is no material cause, and bhakti can only cause bhakti. But there are many other words like yadruchaya in reference to the verses that talk about bhakti, like somebody got bhakti due to good fortune, due to the mercy of the Lord, etc. So then there are 5 areas that then he looks at. That is bhakti caused by good fortune, like luck or piety, which is generated by piety? And the answer is no. Is it caused just by luck that has no cause? Well, that doesn't make sense, because we need to really understand what's causing that luck. Otherwise, why are some that are lucky and others not? Then is it the independent will of the Lord? Well, then the Lord is favorite. He has favorites, or he's been partial, because according to Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says he's equal to everyone. Then we covered, is it the independent will of the devotee? And this fit nicely, because the devotee can decide how he wants to share Krishna consciousness with others. And the bhakti that is in his heart, he is giving that. You can only give what you got. And therefore, the word Haituki is perfectly aligned, because bhakti is reviving bhakti, or making others devotee. And it is the independent will. The devotee is independent, how he wants to cultivate, preach, who he wants to share, he's independent. And Krishna has also given that independence to the devotee to make a choice. Like Prabhupada decided to go to the West. He could have stayed in India. He could have gone to another country in the West. And he could have gone to America and just stayed there. And he would have been successful. He would have fulfilled the order of his guru. But out of his own sweet independent will, he decided, I want to also come back to India and preach. And then I want to travel all the whole planet and give Krishna consciousness to all other parts of the world. This is his own sweet independent will. Therefore, both independence and bhakti, giving rise to bhakti, is fulfilled by this aspect of the devotee. What is the devotee really doing? The devotee is really trying to share Krishna consciousness by exposing Krishna consciousness in multiple forms through prasad, festival, giving association, knowledge, happiness, kirtan. And this is because it's Krishna consciousness, because it's in connection with bhakti, because it is ultimately devotional service. Any soul that come in contact with that process, even unknowingly, they will accrue spiritual credits, which we call agyata sukriti. And as it builds and builds and builds, one then slowly decides to take this process, take one's relationship with God seriously. And then finally, the fifth aspect of the independent will of the jiva, really, even if the jiva doesn't want to take, the devotee is so expert that he will find a way to add credits, spiritual credits. Like, for example, Prabhupada said, if you're distributing books and somebody doesn't want a book, then you just tell them, you can just touch the book. It's okay. You don't want a book, no problem. Happy, 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 no problem. But just touch the book. Then the person says, okay, I'll touch a book. And he goes. You just accrued devotional credits for him. Or he doesn't want a book. You don't become upset. You smile. Thank you, no problem. Have a nice day. That experience is wonderful. And he leaves with a favorable experience. When he leaves with a favorable experience, you just accrued devotional credits for him, because he'll say, nice people. We're giving free food. These people give free food. Very nice. They're appreciating. They're eating prasad, devotional credits. They're appreciating devotional credits. Prabhupada was very expert like that. One time Prabhupada was walking with his disciples, and it was some sort of like a bank, and there was a lake where one lady was fishing. So she caught a fish, and she picked up the fish, and she saw Srila Prabhupada. So she turned towards Srila Prabhupada and she dangled the fish. And she said, would you like the fish? Asking Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada smiled and said, no, you enjoy. And then Prabhupada carried on walking. And after Prabhupada was further away from her so that she won't listen, she won't hear, Prabhupada stopped and commented and suffer. So if you look at what Prabhupada did was, he said, yeah, you can enjoy. And that means she, first she offered sukriti. Then Prabhupada reciprocated with her, you enjoy. She said, oh, well, thank you very much, and sukriti. And for the disciples, education and suffer. They receive the mercy, and their sukriti also built like that. So in this way, this is how Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur in part 3 firstly establishes bhakti's independent bhakti can only be caused by bhakti, and the devotee is given the empowerment to really distribute Krishna consciousness. And therefore for us, it is important that somehow or other we expose people in a pleasing and favorable way to increase their spiritual bank accounts. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So next week, we're going to, tomorrow, not next week, tomorrow, we're going to cover bhakti and other processes. Once we finish that section, then we're going to go into the actual stages. So Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is basically laying the foundation so that we actually understand when we get the mercy, when we get the association, how it's all working and how we can also in turn help others in this process. Are there any questions or comments? The recording will be up on YouTube, Chaitanya Life Academy, as well as in the academy as well. You'll be able to, I'll just post the link. So this is the link to the academy. Anybody likes to join? Right. Amavati and Ali can say, KrishnaKant is so wonderful. Such a nice class. We just want to hear more and more and more. We can't get enough. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Truly appreciate it. Thank you very much. Amavati, Radhika, and Linikanta. Hemanti, you mentioned in one of the slides that free will does not exist. Please, can you explain and elaborate? Yes. So Krishna has free will, independence. We also have minute independence. But the problem is that because we are overpowered by the material energy, which constitute three modes, it's really the three modes that are influencing our decision making. That means we really don't have free will. Free will only comes when we rise above the influence of the three modes of material nature, or we engage our intelligence through scripture to distinguish right and wrong and then decide. But otherwise, you'll find 99% of the population are driven by the influence of the three modes of material nature. Because of the influence of the three modes, their intelligence, their thinking, their perspective to life is all tainted. There is absolutely no genuine free will, even though the living entity has free will. So that free will only manifests once the covering of the modes of material nature are taken out. Let me give you an example. Say someone throws a blanket over you. When they throw a blanket over you, are you free to move in any direction? In the true sense of free. Hemanti, if somebody throws a blanket over you, a heavy blanket, are you free to move in any direction? Yeah, limited movement. It's going to be very difficult. But if somebody removes that blanket, now are you able to move in any direction as compared to the first when the blanket is? And yes, so that's how the free will is. Right now, we are covered by the modes of material nature, and therefore that free will is really tainted. It's not really free. In fact, it may even be perverted, and it may even be slighted, because depending on the mode, if it's in a mode of ignorance. So for example, if I place liquor, soda drink, and distilled water, and I bring many people and I say, you are free to choose. They're really not free to choose. Each one is going to choose a drink according to the modes they influence most by. If somebody is influenced by the mode of ignorance, guess what they're going to choose out of the three drinks? Liquor. If somebody is in the mode of goodness or higher, they're going to choose that which is in that mode. Right? So free will really comes into effect when the modes are actually uncovered. When the modes are uncovered, now you have free will. And what a devotee does with his free will, he offers it to Krishna. That, my Lord, you control me now. My free will, I abused it, and I fell into the material world. Now you take my free will and I will do whatever you want with me. So yes, I hope that shed some light on free will. All right, thank you very much.
One more question
Okay.
by Nirvana. What about a person's own life experiences and faith and trust in the Lord? Wouldn't that ignite bhakti for Krishna in the person?
Right. What about the person's own life experience and faith and trust in the Lord? Wouldn't that ignite bhakti? So remember, how did that person get it? How did that person? So again, it's a lifetime transition. It's not just in this lifetime. So yes, someone coming from the past who already have a Gyata Sukriti, now their experience is going to help them. That Sukriti is going to help them. So yes, that definitely would ignite bhakti and Krishna consciousness. Why? Because they already have that Agyata Sukriti. And how did that Sukriti come? From a devotee? Right? So that definitely, no doubt. Just like you all have sufficient credits. That's why you can make a decision to say, I want more credits. I want more Krishna. I want to hear more. I want to serve more. That definitely is there. And then Bafana says, these modes are damn powerful. Really no escaping it. I understand what you mean by us not having free will. Indeed, it appears to be that we are not. What would you attribute our attendance to this class, Prabhu? We are here and we are here and some are not here when they could have been here by knowledge, and that's their free will, free powerful. And there's this free powerful class on Bhakti sages. So yes, why they not here or why they are here may depend on different situations. So for example, they are those that don't have sufficient credits to understand the benefit. There are those that don't know that the class is there, so they definitely. So if they don't know, they're not coming. Those who know, they may be busy with other spiritual activities, so therefore it's not like they're rejecting this class. Then let's say those who have no interest, they know the class, but there's nothing sparks it. Yeah, journey of divine love. Not interested. That means not enough sukriti, not enough devotional credits. Okay, and why are you people here? Because it's not me that created your sukriti. Just like if someone becomes a devotee here, I can't say, oh, just see, I made that person a devotee. No, because there may have been so many hundreds of devotees that facilitated your devotional service, and your sukriti is up to a certain level that you now understand the benefit. You desire, remember that seed of desire. You want more, you want to progress, that desire to go on this journey. Like we mentioned, you're driving to Durban, your desire is to go to the destination. So that's why you are on this seminar, because you want to learn more, you want to educate yourself more, you want to remove the obstacles on this journey. So you have sufficient devotional credits, which then transforms into faith. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. And you have sufficient faith, trust in the process, and that faith leads you to get more association, leads you to engage in devotional service more and more as you progress on the journey. That's why most of you are here, because you're already on the path. Now you're already on the path, so this is not applicable for majority of you. You are already on one of the stages. What Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur discussed here is for those persons who are completely materialistic. They have no exposure to Krishna consciousness. They are new. How did they get into Krishna consciousness? Exactly how you got into Krishna consciousness in the first place. And then you started. And just as you started, they will also start. I personally thank the Academy. It was influenced again by favorable devotee who inspired my association with you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Bafana Prabhu. Right. Thank you very much. So tomorrow we will continue with this session.